Hi, I'm Paul Fahey, Vice President here at Overit. We're glad you're here. Our webinar is going to begin in a second, but in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about Overit. So we're a full-service agency located in upstate New York. We support a variety of industries with creative services, marketing, advertising, PR, web, social, all at once, all on strategy. We also produce fabulous webinars, which will begin momentarily. So during today's webinar, we'd love to encourage you to raise your hand, put notes in the chat, and wherever possible, be part of the dialogue. We want it to be as custom and relevant to you as possible. And hey, let's keep talking after the webinar. We'll make sure you have our contact information, so if we can help further, drop us a line and let's keep talking. See you soon. So it's going to be a fabulous webinar, but if you're looking for even more marketing insights, visit our blog at overit.com/blog. It says here you can get all of our previous webinars online on our YouTube channel. Just go to overit.com/YouTube or something. Just go to YouTube, search Overit Media. All of our webinars are there. I think you'll really love them. While you're waiting, come see what we're all about at overit.com.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today on why video for marketing purposes is crucial and how to leverage more video in 2023. Just a couple housekeeping notes. We're going to be going through, a general overview, try to get to as much information as possible, but a lot of it will kind of fly by. If you'd like, we do have follow-ups to these types of webinars called roundtables, and our team will be sending out a invite after today's webinar, as well as the link to sign up for that is going to be in the chat. That'll be Wednesday, January 25th. I'll remind everybody at the end as well. But it's a great place to come and join if you want to get more in depth about specificity, your issues, ideas you may have. It's a very open conversational type of roundtable. And again, we'll follow up with that. And if you have any questions or comments today as we're going through this, the way to get those would be to put them in the chat, which you should be easily able to do within the webinar itself. And just shoot those in the chat, and we'll really be happy to try to answer those today as well. And with that said, I'll kind of turn it over to Kristen to get us going.
Yeah, so let's introduce ourselves as today's presenters. I'm Kristen Matthews. I'm the Senior Marketing Director at Overit. I've been a digital marketing thought leader for over a decade, and I've definitely seen over the past few years how leveraging video content for marketing has shifted and become a lot more important. So I'm excited to share my insights with you. Solomon.
Hello, my name is Solomon Nero. I'm the Director of Video and Animation. I've been in the video and animation field for about 18 years now. Everything from 3D animation to cinematography, and I've been working here as a director for about 5.5 years now.
And I'm Dan Dinsmore. I'm the CEO of Overit. We've been doing video since the very inclination of Overit for 30 years and have delved into strategic advisory, the production, creative side of things. So I work a lot in strategy and have been present throughout the culmination of where we began, which is pretty incredible, to where we are now with how video and communications are utilized using video. So really happy to be here today talking about a big passion of mine.
Awesome. Yeah, this year's our 30th anniversary, so that's always very exciting. Before I dive into examples and strategy, I want to establish why you should care about video in the first place. So I'll just go over some basics. One thing to keep in mind is that consumers expect video, especially the younger generation. So if your brand is targeting like Gen Z or even millennials, you'll definitely want to leverage video. Videos are great because they showcase products or services in an easy to digest way. They also establish an emotional connection that the written word can no longer do. Video also helps with SEO. Google favors video results in their search results, so definitely keep that in mind. Creating video content is a little intimidating to some brands, but we're here to tell you it's easier than ever, doesn't take a huge budget. You can even shoot some on your phone for social media and whatnot. And then lastly, videos are more shareable than other forms of content, so they have a lot more potential.
Yep. Just quick note, Kristen, so when the younger generation, we're starting to see, obviously the generations are growing. So, that's really starting to trend, that this is kind of something here that we want to be ahead of the game on for the future generations to come. But even the statistics year over year are showing that the consumption of video, the age gaps are, starting to culminate down.
I totally agree. And speaking of statistics, we can definitely tell you all day long why video is so important. But as business owners and marketers, of course, we want data-driven insights. So I picked out the video marketing statistics that resonated the most with me. And these are all new. So one thing to note is that after the pandemic, consumer consumption of social media content went up 215%, and the majority of that content was video. I guess people got bored. The average consumer spends 19 hours a week consuming video content. If you put that into context of how people work 40 hours a week, that's like half of a job. 83% of marketers who implemented video in 22 plan to implement it in 2023. So that to me shows it's working, or they wouldn't keep doing it. And along those notes, 88% of marketers report a positive ROI from video marketing. 93% say video marketing is crucial to their marketing. Another thing to keep in mind is that video actually makes up 83% of all website traffic. 70% of consumers prefer to learn about brands via video. And then the statistic that resonated the most with me was that 84% of consumers report making a purchase decision after seeing just one video from a brand. And then lastly, 65% of consumers who watch a brand's video click through to the website. So I think these data points are pretty telling on how important video marketing is.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to memorize them or take notes. We're sending out the recording and slides after this, so you'll have all this data in front of you.
Yeah, if I may, it's interesting to watch over the last even just 20 years how video was, or 25 years, video was mostly just TV, and to see things branch out to that, to internet, and now internet and social media and the internet and all these different platforms, is that you cannot escape video anywhere you go. So the only number on this that was actually surprising to me was 70% of consumers preferred having video as their way of ingesting advertising. I feel, or learning about a company. I feel like that number should be higher.
So one of the things from my perspective on some of this data is that I work a lot in like lead gen, and ROI is so critical, and that was kind of the guessing game for quite a while, is how to use video, especially in the digital outlets where it's actually going to start to prove, the return on the investment. And now that we're seeing like positive ROI on video, it's being applied across the board, really from like a customer journey standpoint as much as it is just an advertising standpoint, how we're engaging our audience, and it's not just potential, it's also for your current client journeys, utilizing email in your sales enablement process. So this is really good data. I think everybody is on board knowing that video is definitely something to be including in your content strategies and your marketing strategies in general. But now with the culmination of, seeing the ROI, it should really kind of push you over the top to make sure that you're investing properly into video content.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, yeah. I think this data really establishes that we can't afford to ignore video. So in terms of next step to leverage more video, I want to start with the different types of marketing videos that there are. So there are a ton of different marketing types of videos, but I've narrowed it down to 10 of the most popular, and we're going to go over each of the 10 types of videos so that you can figure out which ones you want to get started with right away. So let's start with narrative. This one is rooted in storytelling. So it encompasses the traditional storytelling elements. It needs to have an intro, a protagonist, a problem, obstacles, and a resolution. Obviously, that resolution at the end of your video is your brand, usually your brand solving a pain point that you've identified that your target audience experiences. Narratives are great at inspiring your target audience and creating a humanized connection with them. And also, a successful narrative also provides a little bit of entertainment as well. So I recommend keeping that in mind. Next, I have snippets for social. So these are usually short form videos. You can leverage them in both paid and organic posts on social media, usually TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. TikTok definitely escalated the video marketing trend on social media. Videos on social media usually capitalize on a trend. I'm sure you've heard of hashtag TikTok made me buy it. That was a popular one for brands. And on social, you can also repurpose long form content. So you can create a long form video, dice it down into digestible pieces to utilize on social media. Just make sure that the first 3 seconds of your video counts and that it's very visually engaging, because a lot of your audience is watching without sound. The next type of video is customer stories. Videos about customer stories are so important because the reality is that consumers do want to hear about your brand. They just don't want to hear about it from you. They want to hear about it from a trusted third party. So leveraging things like case studies or a customer interview provides that third party recommendation, or social proof, as some people call it, to really get your brand out there. And I have an example of a brand putting out customer stories about Facebook ads. So we'll go ahead and roll that.
They created cinemagraphs that highlighted the unique products available for purchase through their app. Giftogram's cinemagraph ad lowered their cost per app install by 61%, resulting in higher cost savings than their previous still image ad campaign. They also saw a 190% increase in ROAS when they used cinemagraphs, demonstrating that cinemagraphs are significantly more cost-effective than still images. Giftogram shared a stronger brand experience by bringing the thumb-stopping power of cinemagraphs to their campaign. Their engagement was 16 times higher than their previous still image ad, creating a better connection with their audience.
So that just goes to show that video performs better than still content. The next type of video I want to go over is animated. As we saw in some of the data we looked at, consumers like to be entertained and educated. So animated videos are a great way to do this, and you can showcase your graphic design skills. Animated videos tend to take a complicated idea and make it more digestible. So let's look at an example from Apple real quick.
Apple has a plan and a promise to make Apple carbon neutral. Wait, no, we've already done that. To make every single Apple product carbon neutral by 2030. Even yours. We're working to make every iPhone, iPad, watch, and Mac with 100% recycled or renewable materials. We're finding new ways to extract aluminum, steel, tin, tungsten, and plastic from recycled Apple products. We're growing enough trees and recycling enough paper to sustain all our packaging. But we can do much more.
So that's just an inspiration if you want to do any animated videos for your brand. The next type of video for marketing that I want to bring up is industry news. Sharing news about your industry positions you as a thought leader in your vertical. And since consumers love digesting video so much, a lot of brands are doing weekly video series, or it can be monthly, on a topic pertaining to your industry. Another type of video is product demos. A lot of people associate this with B2B brands, but it can also be effective for B2C brands. A product demo is different from things like social snippets and whatnot, because they should be a little more professional and polished. And they should highlight a specific part of what your brand offers and how it solves a pain point. A product demo should make your audience want to know more about your brand and have a strong CTA at the end on how to get in touch or move forward. And like I said, it positions your brand as a thought leader. I have a quick example of this from HubSpot. Actually, I changed it to SurveyMonkey. I apologize. So we'll go ahead and roll that.
The day starts and you're checking your email the way you always do. But if you've installed HubSpot Sales, some things are slightly different. When you compose an email, you get a sidebar of information about the person you're writing to, including recent conversations you've had with them and their social activities. You use this information to write emails that are relevant and fit the buyer's context.
So as you can see, a product demo doesn't need to be overly complicated. It should just visually represent the point that you're trying to make with your audience. The next type of video is interviews. Videos can add a human element to your marketing and fuel your brand with a lot of long-lasting content. So when thinking through who to interview, I would recommend tapping into influencers, industry thought leaders, your own employees. Customers are great to interview, and you can even ask your audience to ask their own questions during your interview to make it more interactive. Personalized messages are becoming more popular. They're a little new, but very effective. And of course, you can't create a customized, personalized message for every lead in your pipeline. So I recommend creating personalized messages when a lead or contact is close to purchasing. An example I have of this is actually from 6 months ago. I was picking a dentist and went in for different consultations. And the dentist I chose recorded a video on his phone where he talked to me and he was like, "Hey, Kristen, I really hope you and your family come on board." And I just thought that was a really cool touch, and I did end up choosing him. So personalized messages like that are definitely something to consider, and they can be super informal and recorded on your phone.
Yeah, and we're also starting to see a lot of the personalization coming from in your journey as a client. So as an example, I work a lot in home services. The texts that are going out to service a particular residence, utilizing video so that you can get to know the person that's coming to your house. So it's actually throughout the user journey and the customer's journey where we're using video more and more within those personalization and those messages. It really creates a connection, and it's excellent.
Yeah, and you'll also notice a lot of those video types are kind of cross-pollinating these days, and those usually are a sign of a really good video. Like the Apple video had animation, it had live action video behind it, very quick, got your attention right away, and then just moved on straight through. Even the testimonial had some animation in it, and it's that's a really good way to keep people interested, is not having something super rigid in how it's presented. Also, one of the really cool things that I've noticed over the years is some of these demos, like product demos and things like that. I've seen companies that have like a super niche type of market put all this money into like a tutorial or something on their product, and I'm thinking that seems like a lot of money to put into something. But then what they found is that their sales went through the roof because it was a specialized market. People were looking up, how do I do this in my professional world? And were picking that company because they already knew how to use it, because that was the tutorial that was available. So a lot of these things are very, very powerful these days. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, and they can be leveraged and utilized for marketing for years to come, for sure. Next, I'll go over behind the scenes videos. These are great because consumers more and more are wanting to know how the brands they align themselves with operate. And a good way to make them feel included and in the loop is with behind the scenes content about your brand. So this can be showcasing company culture. You can reveal the inner workings of your company, how your product or service is created in the office. You can feature employees, foster community, promote brand values, and amplify what really makes your company great. And I have a good example of this from Dropbox, so we'll roll that.
Why do I love Dropbox? Boy, I mean, if you've got a few hours, I can go over it.
So why do I love Dropbox?
Why do I love Dropbox?
Why do I love Dropbox?
It's a really difficult question.
Gotta be the people.
The people. The people.
There's not a bad apple in the whole building.
Dropbox is, everyone's positive. I feel like every time I come to work, it's just extremely positive.
I think it's a very human place, if that makes sense.
The culture at Dropbox is down to earth and magical.
So I thought that one was kind of fun and funny when representing company culture and having fun with it. So definitely feel free to be creative. And then the last type of video I want to go over is tutorials. They're similar to product demos, which we talked about. The only differentiator is that you can, with a tutorial, educate your audience on a topic, not just your product. So you can showcase things about your brand, simplify complex processes, and these types of videos are great for consumers who are close to converting. So those are the main types of videos. So now that we've established that, hopefully you have some ideas for your next video. And I want to look at what makes a great video. So I've kind of drilled it down to 6 things that make a great video. So A, you want to establish an emotional connection with your audience. That's nothing new for marketing. You want to intrigue your audience. Your video should be strong visually because, as I mentioned before, a lot of people are watching videos without sound. I think it's usually when they're supposed to be working or whatnot, and they just scroll through videos on their phone. When consumers are doing their own research, they do tend to put the sound on, so make sure you do have compelling audio. You want a clear CTA at the end of your video. So whether it's pointing your audience to visit your website, sign up for a trial, whatever your goal is, just make sure you have a clear CTA at the end of your video. And then lastly, just make sure your video humanizes your brand. With the examples I showed you, I purposely picked out like big companies that were having fun with their brand image and company culture, just because I feel like that really resonates with audiences nowadays. And real quick, I want to touch on cross-channel marketing because video should be leveraged on multiple platforms to reach each segment of your audience in each phase of the buyer's journey. And so an example of a cross-channel marketing strategy for video comes from M&M's. They did a huge promotion around the Super Bowl last year. So they did a Super Bowl commercial, but they didn't stop there. They did a YouTube video. They did social promotion around the commercial. And I think it's just a really good example of blending digital and traditional marketing tactics to really leverage video content. So definitely keep that in mind when publishing your videos and promoting them. Make sure you're hitting all your bases, and those are social media, email, commercials if you have the budget, and then SEO optimizing them so they show up on search and are kind of touching your consumers at every phase of the journey.
Yeah, and in this cross-channel marketing is really important to be utilizing, even your budgets correctly. What we had seen in the past is we would, people would come in, they, if they did traditional, if you do any type of traditional and you were investing into creating commercials that were going to go OTT or just straight to, your regular buys. The thought was basically to edit those down if we needed them for other channels. What we want to do moving forward is that we're looking at creating specific content so we can leverage that when we're shooting for something like that or creating those types of videos. But we want to make sure we're putting a very strong content strategy together to leverage that content as best it can. So, having a 6-second version, a 15-second version, a 30-second version is important, but it's also important of how they interact and how we're leveraging each one to move between each other along your customer's journey. So when you're putting your new strategies together, it's good to kind of think and make sure you have a strong content strategy, knowing your media plan, so that you can leverage this investment as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's good to note that a lot of those can. It's a lot easier to track and see where a lot of your attention is coming from, what's actually generating these leads in different platforms, and where your audience is really residing.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to experiment with a few things, analyze the data, and then scale off of what you see working. So in order to leverage your videos and cross-promote them on different channels, your video obviously needs to be hosted somewhere. And we get that question a lot. So real quick, the top 3 places to host a video are YouTube, Vimeo, and Vidyard. So definitely look at those, with YouTube obviously being the most popular.
Yeah, and YouTube also comes with a slew that, on the back end, we could be working on like targeting and SEO. So that does help. So even if we're using another outlet to host a video on a website or pushing it out in a different format, typically YouTube is also something good to like leverage from a search standpoint.
Yeah.
For sure. So videos for social media marketing, I encourage you to experiment and scale off of what you see resonating with your target consumers. And if you look at this graph in the corner of the screen, you'll see that both brands and consumers seem to be prioritizing Facebook this year. I honestly was a little surprised because I feel like TikTok has a lot more buzz around it. But going off the data, definitely don't kick Facebook out of the mix. And depending on your audience and examining your own buyer personas, definitely experiment with all of the other social platforms as well. With technological advances and the ease of recording videos on your phone, it makes it really easy to experiment with different messages, different channels, all of that good stuff. And then in terms of each platform, I'll just highlight a few best practices real quick. On YouTube, obviously they offer ads, and that's a great way to engage your audience from a paid side. Obviously, don't discount organic as well. Organic videos tend to be longer, while an ad should be under 2 minutes. It is the best platform for long form videos. I just wouldn't use them in an ad. So if you have like a long tutorial product demo, like use it on YouTube organically. Make sure you optimize your YouTube videos for search. So make sure you give them a strategic title, description, and tags. And then when running YouTube ads, brands can expect to pay $2,000 for every 100,000 viewers. And that's just average. It can go up or down. I just wanted to give you an idea of what to expect. So Instagram, obviously a very visually driven platform. So focus on aesthetics when publishing video on Instagram. The average video should be under 30 seconds. If you upload a video as a reel, this is the best option because you can do high resolution videos. They can be longer. Keep in mind that the recommended resolution is 1080 by 1080. Of course, we have to touch on TikTok. TikTok is just getting hotter. I have found that the vibe on TikTok is a little more authentic and humorous than other social platforms. I've also noticed it's not saturated by brands yet, so there is a lot of opportunity. A lot of people associate TikTok with like teens just dancing and singing, but honestly, their audience, as you can see in this graph, is getting older. And I think the platform's becoming a little more serious and people are adapting it more. So it definitely shouldn't be discounted. Keep in mind that a TikTok video should be under 15 seconds. A lot of them are like under 7 seconds. So it's a really good opportunity to maybe take like a longer form video and dice it down. For TikTok, a lot of brands on there tend to be humorous and cutting edge. So this is a platform that you really should have fun with. And it's also helpful to note that the minimum budget to experiment with TikTok ads is only $50. So you don't even have to make a big investment to see if this platform is going to work for your brand. Lastly, there's Facebook. As we talked about, it seems to be that one's being prioritized more by brands and consumers. So we definitely want to keep this a priority. The audience on Facebook tends to prefer entertaining videos over educational. So another one to have fun with. Keep in mind the maximum file size is 4 gigabytes and the best formats are MP4 and .mov. And videos under 2 minutes get the most engagement. I think this is a common thread on videos on all the social platforms because it kind of points to consumers having shorter and shorter attention spans. So as marketers and business owners, we're trying harder and harder to convey everything that we want to present about our brand, but really quickly. So definitely implement strategies for that. So next, I want to talk about the funnel. As I mentioned, video content should be leveraged in all stages of the funnel. And there are a few different theories on what the funnel actually looks like. So for the sake of this webinar, the funnel that we're talking about consists of awareness, then consideration, then conversion, and then loyalty. So awareness. Video content to promote awareness usually consists of short bursts of video on social media, or when you have the budget or expertise, you can leverage commercials on TV. But brand awareness videos are meant to make consumers take notice of your brand. And one thing I hope you remember is that these videos should not be a sales pitch. They should be engaging or entertaining, maybe even intriguing, and point the audience to where they can purchase or learn more about your brand. In the consideration stage, a consumer needs to be presented with videos that set apart your brand from your competitors. So this is where educational videos come in handy, as well as expert interviews. Keep in mind that consumers are likely checking out your competitors' videos as well. So be sure to do competitor analysis to see what others in your industry are doing, and just aim to make your videos a little better than theirs. In the conversion phase, this is when consumers are super close to purchasing from your brand. So videos that convert are case studies, again, product demos, and then those personalized videos that we talked about earlier. Anything that can showcase how your brand solves a pain point is really good for the conversion stage of the funnel. Last, you have loyalty. Obviously, happy consumers turn into loyal consumers, and even brand advocates or brand ambassadors, as some call it. So not forgetting about your consumers when they come on board with your brand is huge. And a way to do that is creating videos that make them feel part of your brand. And that includes the behind the scenes content we talked about, or maybe videos of new things happening at your brand, new products or services. You can even offer videos for consumers only, so there's some exclusiveness. So next, I will briefly talk about promoting your video content. Basically, you want to promote your video content just like you would any of your written content or content you've promoted in the past. Because if you create these amazing videos, what's the point if they're not reaching your target audience? So let's just real quick explore how you can get your videos seen. We'll probably go over this more when we do the roundtable. I just figured a lot of marketers are here and you know how to promote things for your brand. But when promoting video, make sure that you feature them on your website. So having them in the home page or the about page or resource page is huge, because consumers prefer to do their own research about brands. And you just want to make your videos super accessible with consumers wanting video content so much. Use your videos on social media. So use them on your organic posts and your paid when budget allows. As we discussed, you don't have to do big paid investments on social. You can get a lot of use out of one video by dicing it down to do different pieces of that video on different social channels. And then also leverage videos for social proof in your email marketing. Email marketing is still, it's traditional to some, but it's still really effective. Last time I checked, the industry standard is that email marketing brings in $36 for every dollar spent. So it's definitely a strategy that you don't want to get rid of, but amplify your email marketing by using videos in it, just to create more engaging emails. And then lastly, you can partner with influencers to scale your audience. So finding influencers in your industry with an already engaged audience that they can share your video with is great for expanding your reach as well.
That's an interesting topic, because really a lot of making video animations, whatever it is, you're trying to create, companies are trying to create trust with their viewers to get them to come and try out and check out their product or whatever it is that they're selling. And influencers, especially the younger audience, tend to put a lot of trust in people on YouTube or TikTok. A lot of these figures who have this influence on them, showing and sharing tips and all these things. So I have seen a lot of success in companies partnering with some of these influencers and really selling, because these people trust these influencers so much. So developing a good partnership with influencers, I think that's a market that's not tapped as much as it could be. I'm looking forward to seeing 2023, seeing that leveraged a little bit more. I think it'll be very profitable.
Yeah, we're using influencer marketing quite a bit in 2023 to reach the right audiences. One of the great things about influencers is that we're able to identify, they're hitting the right demo, they're hitting the right geographic areas. We have so much ability to be so targeted on what that looks like. Some on a national level is, if you have a huge brand and you're going for a national level presence, there's that type of thing. But there's also when you get down to your geography, or if you're really localized in a particular state or a particular area, we're able to really use influencer marketing to help a great deal.
Yeah, I totally agree. So with all that said, I've kind of distilled it down to our top 5 video marketing tips for 2023.
Do you want a drum roll, Kristen?
I would love a drum roll.
I could do drum roll. Okay.
So tip number 1, align your videos with your customer personas. I mentioned this briefly, and not all brands have customer personas created yet. So if you're one of those brands, don't worry. You can actually Google for a customer personas template on HubSpot. That's my favorite one. And it's just a worksheet that helps you flesh out your customer personas. So that once those are created, you can make sure your video strategy aligns with them. You can create a strategy that is catered to each persona, to each stage they are in the journey, and so forth. Tip number 2, focus on humanizing your brand with video. Consumers crave authenticity, and you can give them this with video contact. Part of your brand part of humanizing your brand with video means consumers actually don't expect your videos to be overproduced and polished. So shooting them on your phone and not taking them too seriously actually resonates with consumers. Tip number 3, you want to ensure visual quality. I mentioned before that a lot of times consumers are watching your video without sound. I would say this is primarily on social. People aren't really watching a product demo or those longer form videos too often without sound, but definitely your social media videos. So you might want to consider closed captioning them so that they still resonate with that audience who's watching it with the sound off.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we're seeing a tremendous opportunity using audio. Obviously, when you're using these in the creative process, you want to be able to have your message come across without any audio whatsoever. But as some of you probably have been, we're seeing an increase in people that are turning the audio on, and when they turn the audio on, we're seeing it kind of approached across the board from a lot of different types of brands as kind of an afterthought. There's a huge opportunity on the audio side to leverage this stuff up, where you could possibly have a VO, more information, not just placing a piece of stock audio that's an afterthought. So it's something to keep in mind upon the creation process, because you have to cover for zero audio, getting that message across, and also have the opportunity to really enhance things utilizing audio. So it's extremely important as we see things moving forward in 23.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And tip number 4, I recommend utilizing talent you already have. I feel like videos come across as being more authentic if you feature employees at your actual company. And keep in mind that a little coaching can go a long way to get your employees comfortable in front of the camera and to represent your voice internally. A lot of companies start with giving the employees a script, but the eventual goal is to get employees comfortable talking in front of a camera conversationally.
Or you could have puppets acted out if in case their performance isn't that good, like we saw earlier.
I loved that example. I would love to do that.
It's a great example. It's a very creative way to, because you could tell that video was shot with it was probably shot the actual people, but then the puppeteering came after to just make it a lot more fun. I thought it was a really creative way to blend creativity and behind the scenes look.
Yeah, I would say even over just the last year, brands have gotten more creative and are recognizing the value of entertaining videos and just not taking themselves too seriously. And I think consumers really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think it really resonates.
So lastly, tip number 5 when it comes to leveraging video content is to embrace paid social. So when budget allows, I recommend putting budget behind Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Just some key things to keep in mind. Keep your paid social videos under 30 seconds. Make sure you have a clear CTA. That can be to visit your website, get a discount, sign up for a newsletter, sign up for a webinar. Possibilities are endless. Consumers just sometimes need that little extra nudge to get them to do what you want them to do. Make sure you experiment with different channels and different messaging, because paid social is so affordable and you can get targeted. There's a lot of room to try different messages and different strategies and different platforms. Like I mentioned before, you want to measure your efforts just like you would with any marketing strategy and scale off of what you see working. And you can segment your audience, as we talked about earlier, based on buyer personas and different stages of the buyer's journey, interests, behavior. When doing targeted ads on paid social, there's so many filters and nuances to it. To some people, it can be a little overwhelming. To others, it's super exciting to be able to get that targeted with your messaging. So we have a few minutes left. I want to leave time for questions. So real quick, I want to talk about video trends that we've been seeing here at Overit and what we think you can expect in the upcoming year. So one of the things that I think is trending right now when it comes to video content is that brands are finding that it's more cost effective to work with a video production agency like Overit. And of course, we're biased, so feel free to do your own research for your own video marketing partners. But keep a few criteria in mind that I'll quickly go over. Video marketing does take time, special equipment, different talents and whatnot. So it is smart to sometimes partner with an agency who can help you with your video production. Look for a team that blends creativity and data. Definitely vet their previous work and examples, especially examples of videos they've done in your industry. Read scripts they've done, make sure they have good video editing experience. There's a lot of work on the editing side. And make sure that they are experts and know how and where to help you publish and promote your videos. So just some things to keep in mind. And then other predictions and trends that we look forward to seeing in 2023. One of those is AR and VR, which I know Solomon is excited to talk about.
Oh, it's really more exciting in the next 5 to 10 years, but we're starting to see wearables become a thing in its early phase. Apple is supposed to be rumored to come out with a new wearable AR, augmented reality glasses. We aren't sure exactly what it is yet, but we are going to see in the next 5 to 10 years advertising happening within your world and things being presented in your world through a wearable. Showing up on your desk or on a building as you're walking by down the street, like whatever it is. There's a lot of really interesting things coming, and probably something I will cover more in the roundtable because it's a huge topic of conversation.
Yeah, and AR, even in 2023, we're starting to see trends moving back towards the augmented reality of products. So I think we were all kind of part of seeing the QR code. It came and then it went, and then it came back really strong, where AR is making a similar type of comeback right now, where you're looking at products and being able to create interactive content, just utilizing your phone, even without a wearable. So we're just keeping our eyes on that, but you will see AR and VR in the next upcoming years just kind of take a huge presence within marketing in general.
Yeah, we're even seeing things like Amazon. You could, if you're a company that sells products, you can actually submit 3-dimensional LiDAR scans of your products, and people can actually project them through their camera in the room that they're in. Oh, see, this couch goes here, or this goes here. It's really, I think it's going to blow up very soon. It's already on the rise.
For sure. And we also see interactive content becoming more popular in 2023. I think Dan has some insights to share about that.
Well, I think just keeping in mind, understanding the technologies, so how you can leverage interactivity and interactive content. We're creating things that kind of go across marketing into training internally, testing internally, those types of things, and just really creating an immersive environment and a more fun environment to really increase productivity on the training side as well as the marketing side. And obviously, interactivity will keep your clients more engaged. So creating those types of things, walkthroughs, transitions, information, services, offerings, that type of thing. And also, the video content is going to be being pushed off into other types of content, including like voice. So it's really key to have your eye on the interactive side of things.
I dig that. Other predictions that we have, authenticity in video content, we definitely noticed that it was becoming more popular in 2022. So we just predict that this is going to become even more popular in 2023 as brands really get a handle on consumer behavior and consumer preferences. and it's all about authenticity, which is good news for some brands because the videos don't need to be overly polished all the time. Another prediction is the demand for UGC will increase. UGC is user-generated content, so content created usually by your consumers. It offers that trusted third-party recommendation that makes consumers take notice. Social commerce, aka shoppable videos, I think we definitely saw those start to get popular at the end of 2021. And it's just taking off, especially for e-commerce brands. And then lastly, video will be more in demand by consumers, so marketers will continue to increase their budget to spend on video and to also promote that video content. So that is what we have to share with you on all things video marketing. I know we threw a lot at you. So we'll be sending out the recording and the slides. Feel free to join us for the roundtable event if you want to ask questions or go over in depth about what we talked about. And I'm going to check real quick to see if we got any questions from the audience.
Yeah, and also if you don't have time to attend the roundtable and you have specific questions or just want another point of view, we're happy to talk to anyone at any time. So feel free to reach out to us. We love just talking video and all things marketing. So we're happy to talk to you, but we will send out that information.
Yep. So it looks like we have 2 questions. So someone asked, how often do you recommend posting on TikTok? What is best for the algorithm? So the industry standard is 5 to 7 times a week, at least. This can be a little overwhelming. So that tends to be when brands leverage paid ads on TikTok. But for an organic, engaged presence, the industry standard is 5 to 7 times a week. But as we mentioned a few times, I feel like the videos don't need to be super produced. You can do a quick one on your phone. They have all of the audio options that you can add to it and effects. So have fun with it if you choose to put your brand on TikTok.
Yeah, and there is a tremendous opportunity, as Kristen had mentioned earlier, as we're in the beginning stages of brands utilizing the paid side on TikTok. That'll take care of your frequency. It's not going to be an organic type of approach, but that has been very, very successful from a marketing standpoint, because some companies just don't have the assets or resources to get into the social side of organic. It takes a lot of work. It is easy. You got a phone, but who's doing it? There's a lot of questions that get wrapped around it, and is that information supporting your brand and your brand standards correctly? So just to mention again, we have seen a really good return and result from utilizing the TikTok platform at this point with video paid. So that is helpful, and I'm sure it'll get more convoluted as time goes on, but that is part of the marketing game, is to be at the right place at the right time. So
totally agree. The other question we got, what would you advise on marketing short videos accessible to everyone, i.e. video description for visually impaired captioning? To answer that question, I mean, my first thought is that you want to close caption your videos regardless if you're targeting visually impaired or not, just because people are watching them without sound. So captioning them, I feel like, solves this. I don't know if that answers that question, though.
Well, there is also, when we're putting together strategies like that question, even though you're starting with your video content, that video content should be part of your content strategy in general. So there's a lot of companies that we're working with that translate that information into audio segments, also written word segments. So we're able to utilize and be able to make sure that all the content is accessible in one form or another. And that should really be part of your content strategy, if that's, important. It's always helpful. So, even with like blogging, you'll see, our blogs are written word, they're being transferred into videos, and they're also being transferred into audio, so that, everyone has access, and we're really touching everybody at their preferred touch points.
Right. We're also we've also found that using animated videos is a really good way to touch those different demographics. You'll have someone reading a VO or speaking, and then the animation on screen will have text animating on in that fun way, like that Apple ad's a perfect example. It's animating a summary of the VO, so your hearing impaired and visually impaired will see not just reading text on a screen like closed caption, but it's something a lot more interesting, which will pull them in. And so that's just another way to really help cover those different aspects.
Yeah, and usually all of those items that you're talking in that question about, again, going back to your content strategy and making sure that you're allocating, the right time to making sure that you're covering all the bases of the different mediums that you want to reach your audience with.
Excuse me.
Yeah, definitely keep in mind the multi-channel campaigns and the M&M's example that we referenced. I just think that's a perfect example of touching consumers and meeting them where they want to be met.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Those are all the questions we got. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If more questions come up, you can reach out to our team at any time. We're very friendly, and we'll be sending out the recording, the slides, and information about the roundtable coming up.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Record